Stardust Royalty, An Alien Princess Tale. Story Outline. Part 1, Hidden Among Stars. Princess Ilara of Astoria arrives on Earth after her home planet falls to invading forces. Taking the identity of Elena Rivera, she builds a life as an astronomy professor at a local university. 3 years into her life on Earth, she befriends colleagues Dash, Maya, and Jordan, finding unexpected connection with Dash. Strange dreams begin to disrupt her carefully constructed human life, bringing flashes of her royal past and powers she suppressed. Part 2, Whispers of the Past. As Elena and Dash grow closer, her powers manifest in increasingly noticeable ways. A mysterious student joins her class who seems oddly familiar. Elena experiences more vivid flashbacks of her royal upbringing and the war that drove her to Earth. When she accidentally reveals her abilities to Dash during an intimate moment, she must decide whether to trust him with her true identity or flee again. Part 3, Hunters and Hunted. The mysterious student reveals himself as Vex, a scout from rival planet Kronos. He's been tracking Ilara for months, but instead of capturing her, he warns that Kronos forces are coming to Earth. Elena must reveal her identity to her friends and seek their help. As she reconnects with her powers, her relationship with Dash deepens. Together, they prepare for the coming threat, while Elena struggles with the responsibility she abandoned. Part 4, Royal Blood. Kronos forces arrive, led by Commander Thorn, who begins hunting for Elena while causing chaos in the city. Elena's friends help her evade capture, but when Maya is taken hostage, Elena must embrace her royal identity and powers fully. In a daring rescue mission with Dash and Jordan, she confronts her past and the guilt of leaving her people. The mission succeeds, but Thorn discovers her true location. Part 5, Two Worlds, One Heart. In a final confrontation, Elena faces Thorn and learns that some of her people still resist on Astoria. She must choose between returning to lead the resistance or protecting her new home on Earth. With Dash and her friends by her side, Elena finds a way to embrace both worlds, using Earth as a base for the resistance while maintaining her human connections. The story ends with Elena accepting her dual identity as both human Elena and Princess Ilara, ready to face whatever comes next with her chosen family. Part 1, Hidden Among Stars. Professor Elena Rivera adjusted her glasses as she gazed up at the star-filled planetarium ceiling. 3 years on Earth, and the sight still filled her with a mixture of longing and relief. Earth's night sky was so different from Astoria's twin moons and violet nebula clouds, yet watching these unfamiliar constellations had become her sanctuary. Impressive model of the Cygnus constellation, Professor, a voice said behind her. Elena turned to find Dash Harlow, the enthusiastic physics professor whose lab adjoined her office. His easy smile always seemed to bypass her carefully constructed defenses. "Thank you. I've been recalibrating the projector." The Deneb star was slightly off position. She gestured to the brightest star in the pattern. "It's actually a supergiant, not just any star. Much like our sun, but with a very different destiny." "Different destinies despite similar origins," Dash mused. "Sounds like people I know." If only he knew how different her origin truly was. Elena suppressed the thought as she had countless times before. "The astronomy department social is tonight," Dash continued. "Maya's bringing her famous cocktails, and Jordan's handling the music. You're coming this time, right? No more excuses about stellar calculations." Elena hesitated. Socializing meant questions. Questions meant lies. But after 3 years of keeping everyone at arm's length, loneliness had become its own kind of prison. "I'll be there," she found herself saying. Later that evening, Elena stood in her apartment bathroom, examining her appearance. Her skin had adjusted to Earth's atmosphere, no longer shimmering with the faint iridescence natural to Astorians. The medication she'd synthesized suppressed her bioluminescent reactions to emotions. Her silver blonde hair had been dyed a natural brown. The only feature she couldn't alter were her eyes, still an unusual violet, but explainable with colored contacts. The party was already in full swing when she arrived at Maya's downtown loft. Colorful string lights gave the space a festive glow that reminded Elena painfully of the Festival of Lights on Astoria. "Elena! You actually came." Maya Lopez, the dynamic astrophysics researcher, embraced her with genuine warmth. "I was betting Jordan $20 you'd bail again." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," Elena smiled, accepting the bright blue cocktail Maya pressed into her hand. Jordan Okafor, the department's exoplanet specialist, appeared with a dramatic bow. "The elusive Professor Rivera graces us with her presence. The stars must be aligned." Despite her initial reservations, Elena found herself relaxing as the evening progressed. These humans with their easy laughter and casual touches made something inside her ache. On Astoria, as royal heir, she'd never experienced such uncomplicated companionship. Dash found her on the balcony, where she'd stepped out for air. Earth's oxygen concentration still sometimes left her lightheaded after a few drinks. "Stargazing even at parties," he said, leaning on the railing beside her. "What do you see up there that's so fascinating?" "Home. War. The fall of a civilization. Memories she couldn't share. Beauty," she said instead. "Mystery. Questions waiting to be answered." "And what about down here?" Dash asked softly. "Any mysteries worth exploring on solid ground?" The warmth in his eyes made her pulse quicken dangerously. She felt the telltale tingling in her fingertips that preceded a glow, a reaction her medication should have prevented. "I should go," she said abruptly. "Early class tomorrow." That night, Elena dreamed of Astoria for the first time in months. She was standing in the Crystal Palace throne room as Kronos warships darkened the sky. Her mother, Queen Selene, pressed the royal medallion into her hand. "You must live, Elara," her mother whispered fiercely. "If you survive, Astoria survives." Elena woke with a gasp, her body bathed in soft blue light, her natural bioluminescence breaking through the medication's effects. Across the room, the small box containing her royal medallion was vibrating, emitting a faint signal that hadn't activated in 3 years. Something was coming. Her peaceful exile was ending. As dawn broke, Elena stood at her apartment window, watching Earth's single sun rise. Today she would teach humans about distant stars, smile at Dash's flirtations, and pretend to be nothing more than Elena Rivera. But Princess Elara of Astoria was awakening within her, whether she was ready or not. The lecture hall fell silent as Elena dimmed the lights and activated the holographic display. Earth technology was primitive compared to Astoria's, but she'd modified the projector enough to create a passable simulation of the Andromeda galaxy. "Notice how the spiral arms contain younger, hotter stars," she explained, rotating the display with a subtle wave of her hand. "While the center." Elena froze mid-sentence. A student sat in the back row, one she'd never seen before. His posture was too rigid, his attention too focused. And his eyes, they reflected the light differently than human eyes should. "Professor Rivera?" A voice pulled her back to the present. "Are you okay?" "Yes, just a momentary distraction," she said, forcing herself to continue the lecture while keeping the stranger in her peripheral vision. When class ended, the mysterious student vanished before she could approach him. Elena gathered her notes with trembling hands, the medallion beneath her blouse suddenly warm against her skin. "Quite the theatrical pause there," Dash said, appearing in the doorway. "Very dramatic." "Just tired," she replied, trying to smile naturally. "Didn't sleep well." "Then let me buy you coffee." Scientific studies prove caffeine is an effective remedy for sleep deprivation. His playful smile made her hesitation evaporate. "I'm pretty sure you made that science up." "I'm a physicist." I'm always making things up. He stepped closer, his voice softening. Seriously though, you seem on edge lately. Everything okay? The genuine concern in his eyes made her want to tell him everything, about Astoria, about being a princess, about the war that had claimed her family. About how every night this week, she'd woken glowing bright enough to light her entire bedroom. Just some vivid dreams, she said instead. At the campus cafe, Elena relaxed as Dash recounted his department's latest funding disaster. His animated storytelling was infectious, and she found herself laughing despite her worries. When his hand brushed hers while reaching for sugar, a pleasant warmth spread through her chest. You know, I've been asking you out for coffee for nearly 2 years, Dash said suddenly. Elena blinked. We've had coffee dozens of times. As colleagues, yes. But this is the first time you've said yes when I've asked as more than that. The realization made her pulse quicken. Had she been so focused on hiding her identity that she'd missed his intentions? I don't date colleagues, she said automatically, the response part of her careful boundaries. Yet here we are, he countered with a smile. Look, I don't know what makes you keep everyone at arm's length, Elena. But when you're ready to let someone in, I'd like to be first in line. Their eyes met, and for a dangerous moment, Elena felt her control slipping. The familiar tingling sensation crept through her fingertips as the cafe lights seemed to flicker. That evening, alone in her apartment, Elena retrieved the royal medallion from its hiding place. The circular disc hummed with energy, projecting a faint hologram when she touched it, star charts of her home system. What are you trying to tell me? She whispered, tracing the constellation patterns. A knock at her door startled her. She quickly concealed the medallion and checked the peephole. Dash stood outside, holding a folder. Sorry to drop by unannounced, but you left your research notes at the cafe. Elena hesitated, then opened the door. Thank you. I've been looking for those. I figured. His eyes took in her apartment, minimal furnishings, no photos, nothing personal except for star charts on the walls. Nice place. Very functional. I don't need much, she said, suddenly self-conscious about the sterility of her living space. Everyone needs something, he replied, stepping closer. Or someone. The intensity in his gaze sent a current through her body, awakening the part of herself she worked so hard to suppress. When he reached out to brush a strand of hair from her face, she didn't pull away. I should go, he whispered, though he made no move to leave. Yes, you should, she agreed, even as she leaned toward him. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative, then something ignited between them. Elena felt her control slipping as Dash pulled her closer, his lips moving more urgently against hers. Heat rushed through her body, setting every nerve ending alight. Literally alight. She pulled back with a gasp as blue luminescence spread across her skin, pulsing with each rapid heartbeat. What the? Dash stepped back, eyes wide with confusion. I can explain, Elena began, though she had no idea how she possibly could. You're glowing, he said, staring at her shimmering hands. The medallion on her nightstand suddenly burst into brilliant light, projecting a detailed star map across her living room walls. A red dot pulsed within the Orion constellation, the location of Astoria. Elena, what is this? Dash asked, his voice surprisingly steady as he gestured at the celestial projection. Before she could answer, a distant boom shook the building. Out her window, a streak of light cut across the night sky, not a meteor, but something much more controlled. Something headed directly toward Earth. They've found me, Elena whispered, as her human life began crumbling around her. Who's found you? Dash demanded, his expression shifting from wonder to concern as Elena frantically gathered items around her apartment. Elena, what's happening? She paused, the royal medallion clutched in her palm, its light casting ethereal patterns across her face. 3 years of careful secrecy, of building walls, of becoming human, all of it undone in an instant of weakness. "My name isn't Elena," she said finally. "It's Ilara. Princess Ilara of Astoria, 4th planet in the Lyran system." Dash's face cycled through disbelief, realization, and then something she hadn't expected, acceptance. "An alien princess," he said slowly. "Actually, that explains a lot about you." A sharp knock at the door interrupted them. Elena froze, eyes wide with panic. Without a word, Dash moved to the peephole and peered out. "It's the new student from your class," he whispered. Elena nodded grimly. "Let him in." The young man who entered moved with unnatural precision. His eyes, now clearly visible, had vertical pupils that contracted in the apartment light. "Your Highness," he said, bowing slightly. "I am Vex, of the Resistance." "Resistance?" Elena's brow furrowed. "Against Kronos?" "Yes. I've been tracking you for months." Vex glanced at the window. That signal was a Kronos scout ship. "We have perhaps 2 days before Commander Thorne's battalion arrives." "Thorne," Elena whispered, her face paling. The name triggered memories of her father's execution, broadcast across the galaxy as a warning. "He's coming here? For you, specifically." Vex's expression softened slightly. "Your survival gives hope to those still fighting. The resistance grows stronger each day." Dash cleared his throat. "I'm still processing the alien princess thing, but now there's a resistance and battalions? Someone want to fill me in?" Elena exchanged glances with Vex, then made her decision. If she was going to trust anyone, it would be Dash. "My world was invaded 3 years ago by the Kronos Empire. My parents, the king and queen, were murdered. I escaped with this." She held up the medallion. "It contains Astoria's history, star charts, everything that makes us who we are. I thought everyone else was killed." "Not everyone," Vex interjected. "Many escaped. Others fight from within. But we need a leader, we need you, Your Highness." The weight of responsibility Elena had fled from now settled back on her shoulders. But this time, it felt different. On Earth, among humans, she'd found something she'd never had on Astoria, true connection. "I need to warn Maya and Jordan," she said suddenly. "If Kronos forces are coming, no one near me is safe." "The fewer humans involved, the better," Vex warned. "They're my friends," Elena said firmly, with a royal authority that surprised even herself. "And we'll need help." Hours later, Maya's downtown loft had become an impromptu war room. Jordan paced nervously while Maya bombarded Vex with questions about interstellar travel. Dash hadn't left Elena's side, his presence steadying her as she outlined what they knew about Kronos tactics. "Their technology is beyond Earth's defensive capabilities," Elena explained. "But I can activate certain Astorian countermeasures using my medallion." "Which you'll need to power up," Vex added. "Your royal birthright includes abilities you've been suppressing." Elena nodded reluctantly. "The medication I've been taking blocks my natural energy manipulation." "Wait," Maya interrupted, her scientific mind racing. "You're saying you can control energy? Like, electromagnetic fields?" "Among other things," Elena admitted. "All Astorians have some ability, but the royal line is stronger." "That explains the glowing," Dash murmured, earning a sharp look from Elena. Later that night, after the others had gone to rest, Elena and Dash stood on Maya's rooftop terrace. The city lights sparkled below them like a reflection of the stars above. "I should have told you," Elena said softly. "But I've been hiding so long, I've forgotten how to be honest." "I always knew there was something different about you," Dash replied, taking her hand. "Though, alien royalty wasn't on my list of theories." Elena smiled despite herself. "What was, then?" "Witness protection. Secret agent." Runaway cult member. His fingers interlaced with hers. But I like the truth better. When he kissed her this time, Elena didn't hold back. The luminescence spread across her skin like liquid moonlight, her hair fading from brown to its natural silver blonde. In his arms, she wasn't hiding anymore. The kiss deepened, and Elena felt a yearning that transcended species. As clothes were discarded, their bodies illuminated by her natural light, she discovered what it meant to truly connect with another being. Their lovemaking was tender then passionate, each touch sending ripples of light cascading across her skin. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Elena felt whole. Afterward, lying in each other's arms, Dash traced the patterns of light that still pulsed beneath her skin. "This is the real you," he whispered. "You're beautiful." The next morning, Vex helped Elena prepare to access her suppressed abilities. In Maya's living room, she sat cross-legged, the medallion before her. "Focus on your core energy," Vex instructed. "Picture it flowing through your bloodline, back through generations of Asterian royalty." Elena closed her eyes, feeling the energy building within her, a tingling that grew to a steady hum, then a powerful current. The medallion rose, hovering between her outstretched hands. "That's it," Vex encouraged as light began to envelop her. A sudden crash shattered their concentration. The apartment door splintered inward as armored figures rushed inside. "Kronos forces!" Vex shouted, diving toward Elena. Too late. A pulse of energy knocked them all backwards. In the doorway stood a tall figure in black armor, his face hidden behind a helmet with a distinctive red crest. "Princess Elara," the figure said, his voice chillingly familiar. "How disappointing to find you hiding among these primitives. Commander Thorn sends his regards." The Kronos lieutenant advanced into the apartment, flanked by soldiers with pulse rifles trained on Elena and her friends. Behind his helmet, his eyes glowed an unnatural amber. "You're early," Vex snarled, slowly rising to his feet. "And you're a traitor to Kronos," the lieutenant replied coldly. "Lieutenant Draz will be pleased to add you to his collection of rebel corpses." Elena remained on the floor, her eyes fixed on the medallion that had rolled toward the window. Her powers, half awakened, buzzed beneath her skin like static electricity. "What do you want?" she demanded, drawing herself up with the royal bearing she'd suppressed for years. "Commander Thorn requires your presence for the final subjugation of Astoria. A public execution of the last royal will break the Resistance's spirit." He gestured to his soldiers. "Take her. Kill the others." "No!" Elena cried, instinctively throwing her hand forward. A pulse of blue energy erupted from her palm, throwing the nearest soldiers backward. The lieutenant staggered but kept his footing, raising his weapon. "Run!" Vex shouted, tackling the lieutenant. Dash grabbed Elena's hand, pulling her toward the fire escape as Maya and Jordan scrambled behind them. Pulse blasts shattered the windows as they fled down the metal stairs. "My car's around the corner," Jordan gasped as they reached the alley. They piled into his sedan and sped away from the building, narrowly avoiding a Kronos patrol vehicle that materialized at the intersection. "What about Vex?" Elena asked, twisting to look back. "He sacrificed himself to give us time," Dash said grimly. "Where can we go?" "They'll track your energy signature." "My research lab," Maya suggested. "The geology department has a Faraday cage for sensitive equipment testing. It might mask her energy output." Elena nodded, clutching her medallion. "It's worth trying, but we need to move fast. They'll have the city locked down by nightfall." Hours later, huddled inside the cramped Faraday cage in the university's basement, Elena tried to process their situation. Maya and Jordan sat against one wall, whispering urgently, while Dash stood guard at the door. "I've put all of you in danger," Elena said, her voice tight with regret. "If I'd just gone with them." "They would have killed us anyway," Dash interrupted. And executed you on your home planet. Not a great plan. We need to find out what happened to Vex, Jordan said. He might still be alive. Maya's phone buzzed with an alert. They're saying a meteor hit downtown. That's their cover story for the attack. She scrolled further, her face paling. They've set up military checkpoints across the city, claiming it's for contamination control. Classic Kronos tactics, Elena observed. Isolate an area, then extract their target while controlling the narrative. Dash crossed to Elena and took her hands. You said your powers were coming back. What exactly can you do when you're at full strength? Elena hesitated. Energy manipulation, mostly. Shields, directed force, some matter transmutation. On Astoria, I could have powered a small city. And that medallion enhances your abilities? It's more than that. It's a repository of Astorian knowledge, but also a key to our defensive systems. If I can fully activate it, I might be able to send a distress signal to any remaining Astorian ships. Their planning was interrupted by Maya's phone ringing. She answered cautiously, then gasped. They have Vex at the downtown precinct, she reported. That was my contact in the police department. They think he's a terrorist connected to the meteor incident. We have to get him out, Elena said firmly, rising to her feet. He risked everything to warn me. That's exactly what they want, Dash argued. It's a trap. Then we don't give them what they expect. Elena's eyes glowed with determination. I'm done running. After heated debate, they formulated a plan. Jordan would create a diversion at the precinct's main entrance while Maya used her departmental credentials to access the building's security system. Dash would accompany Elena through the service entrance. As night fell, they put their plan into action. Elena had spent hours meditating, connecting with her dormant abilities. Her skin now held a permanent subtle glow, her movements more fluid and assured. When the alarm blared at the front of the precinct, Elena and Dash slipped through the service door, using the medallion's energy to short out the electronic lock. According to the building schematic, holding cells are in the basement, Dash whispered, checking his phone. They navigated through dim corridors, Elena using her enhanced senses to detect approaching guards. Twice they had to hide in supply closets as Kronos soldiers disguised as SWAT officers passed by. In the basement, they found Vex in an isolation cell, his face bruised but his eyes alert. Princess, he breathed when he saw her. You shouldn't have come. I'm not leaving anyone behind, she replied, placing her hand against the cell door. Blue energy coursed from her fingers, melting the lock mechanism. They took my communicator, Vex said as they helped him up. The commander's cruiser enters Earth's atmosphere tomorrow at dawn. An alarm suddenly blared through the building. Perimeter breach detected, an automated voice announced. Maya? Dash asked, tapping his earpiece. Not me, her frantic voice replied. They've found us. Multiple hostiles entering the building. Get out now, Elena ordered. We'll find another way. They had nearly reached the service exit when Lieutenant Draz appeared with 4 soldiers. Predictable, he sneered, raising his weapon. Elena pushed Dash and Vex behind her, raising her hands as energy crackled between her fingers. I don't want to hurt you. Your compassion is why your people lost the war, Draz replied, firing. The energy bolt struck Elena squarely in the chest, but instead of falling, she absorbed it, her entire body pulsing with blue light. With a cry that was half pain, half exhilaration, she redirected the energy outward in a concussive wave. The soldiers were thrown against the walls, their weapons shattering. Only Draz remained standing, protected by his advanced armor. The princess has remembered her birthright, he said, sounding almost impressed as he drew a serrated blade. Let's see what royal blood looks like. He lunged, faster than any human could move. But Elena was no longer restraining her Asterian reflexes. She sidestepped his attack, her hand catching his wrist in a grip that cracked his armor. "My people aren't lost," she said, her voice resonating with power. "And neither am I." With a surge of energy, she pushed him away, the force crushing his chest plate. He collapsed, gasping. "This isn't over," he wheezed. "Commander Thorn knows your weakness now. You're human pets." Elena realized with horror what he meant. On her command link, Maya's voice suddenly screamed, "They've got Jordan." The dawn painted the sky in hues of crimson and gold as Elena stood on the university observatory roof. Below, the city was unnaturally quiet. Evacuation orders had cleared the downtown area under the guise of toxic meteor debris. "They're entering the atmosphere," Vex announced, monitoring a modified telescope. "Thorn's command ship and 2 destroyers." Elena felt the medallion pulse against her skin. Fully awakened now, her powers surged through her body, no longer painful but a natural extension of herself. Her silver-blonde hair whipped around her face as she channeled energy into the ancient device. "Are you sure about this?" Dash asked, his face drawn with concern. In the night since Jordan's capture, they'd barely slept, preparing for this confrontation. "No," Elena admitted. "But I'm done letting others fight my battles." Maya joined them, carrying equipment she'd cobbled together from the physics lab. "The signal amplifier is ready. If there are any Asterian ships out there, they'll receive your transmission." The plan was dangerous but straightforward. Elena would use the university's radio telescope, enhanced by her powers, to broadcast a distress signal. Meanwhile, Vex would lead a rescue mission for Jordan using coordinates he'd hacked from Kronos communications. "Commander Thorn is requesting your surrender," Vex reported, listening to intercepted transmissions. "He's threatening to begin executing civilians, starting with Jordan." Elena's jaw tightened. "Open a channel." When the connection established, she spoke with the authority of her bloodline. "Commander Thorn. This is Princess Ilara of Astoria. I will meet you, but my terms are non-negotiable. Release my friend and withdraw your forces from civilian areas." A harsh laugh answered her. "The princess dictates terms? Perhaps you've forgotten who conquered your world, your highness." "You've won nothing," Elena replied coldly. "As long as I live, Astoria lives. And I'm no longer alone." The radio crackled with static before Thorn's voice returned. "You have 1 hour to surrender yourself at the city center. Alone. Or your friend dies, followed by this pathetic city." The transmission ended. Maya looked at Elena with worry. "You can't give yourself up." "I won't," Elena assured her. "But we need to accelerate our timeline." They split into teams. Maya would remain to operate the radio telescope, while Vex, Elena, and Dash would infiltrate the Kronos landing site where Jordan was being held. As they prepared to leave, Dash pulled Elena aside. "If we survive this, what happens next?" The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean? Do you return to Astoria? Lead the resistance?" His eyes searched hers. "Where do I fit in that future?" Elena touched his face gently, her fingertips leaving traces of luminescence on his skin. "I don't know what happens next. But I know I don't want to face it without you." Their kiss was brief but fervent, a promise amidst uncertainty. The Kronos landing site had transformed a city park into a military compound. Cloaking technology made their ships invisible to human radar, but Elena could sense the energy signatures. Thorn's command vessel dominated the center, flanked by smaller craft. "Jordan's being held in that transport ship," Vex whispered, pointing to a sleek vessel near the perimeter. "Security is lightest on the eastern approach." Using her abilities, Elena created a localized electromagnetic pulse that disabled the perimeter sensors. They slipped through the momentary gap, using the pre-dawn shadows for cover. "I'll create a diversion," Vex said, handing Dash a small device. "This will unlock the transport's main hatch. Get Jordan and retreat to extraction point." "What about you?" Elena asked. Vex smiled grimly. "I'll join you when I can, Your Highness." Before she could protest, he disappeared into the maze of equipment. Moments later, explosions rocked the northern edge of the compound. Alarms blared as Kronos soldiers rushed toward the disturbance. Elena and Dash sprinted to the transport ship. The device worked as promised, the hatch sliding open with a soft hiss. Inside, they found Jordan strapped to an interrogation chair, bruised but conscious. "Took you long enough," he mumbled as Dash freed him. "Can you walk?" Elena asked, helping him stand. "Do I have a choice?" Their escape route was cut off by approaching soldiers. Elena pushed the men behind her, drawing deeply on her powers. A protective barrier of shimmering energy formed around them as she navigated toward the extraction point. "Impressive, Your Highness," a deep voice resonated from behind them. Commander Thorne stood 30 feet away, his armor more ceremonial than functional, emphasizing his imposing height and build. Unlike his soldiers, his face was uncovered, handsome in a cruel way, with ritual scars marking his pale skin. "The last royal of Astoria," he continued, walking toward them. "Your parents were less impressive when they died." Rage surged through Elena, her barrier flaring brighter. "You'll never speak of them again." "I admired your father's dignity," Thorne continued, deliberately provoking her. "He didn't beg. Your mother, however." Elena's scream of fury unleashed a wave of pure energy that rippled across the compound, staggering even Thorne. The medallion at her throat blazed like a miniature sun. "You want to see royal power?" she snarled, rising several inches off the ground as energy coursed around her. "Watch closely." The air crackled as Elena channeled power through the medallion, directing it at Thorne. The commander raised his own energy shield, the collision of forces creating a deafening concussion that shattered windows throughout the compound. "Elena!" Dash called out, supporting Jordan. The signal. Above them, the sky seemed to ripple as a massive ship dropped its cloaking. Not Kronos design, sleeker, with distinctive blue energy signatures. "Asterian vessel," Vex confirmed, appearing beside them, bloodied but triumphant. "The Resistance received your transmission." Thorne's face contorted with rage. "No." He fired a concentrated energy bolt at Elena. She deflected it easily, her confidence growing with each passing second. "It's over, Thorne. Return to Kronos and tell your masters that Astoria lives. Kill them all." Thorne ordered his remaining forces. Before they could comply, transport beams from the Asterian ship enveloped the soldiers, disarming them instantly. Thorne found himself alone, surrounded by rebels who materialized around the compound. "Commander Thorne," a tall Asterian woman announced, her uniform bearing Resistance insignia, "you are now our prisoner of war." As Thorne was secured, Elena turned to her friends, her human family. Dash's eyes shone with pride, Jordan managed a pained smile, and Maya, who had arrived with the Resistance forces, wiped tears from her cheeks. "You did it," Dash said softly. Elena shook her head. "We did it. I couldn't have faced any of this without you." The Resistance leaders approached, bowing to their princess. "Your Highness, the Liberation Fleet awaits your command. Astoria's remaining outposts stand ready." The moment of choice had arrived. Elena looked at Dash, then at the Asterian ship hovering above. Two worlds, both hers in different ways. "Astoria isn't just a planet," she said finally. "It's a people, a culture, a way of being. For 3 years, I've been part of Earth. I've learned what it means to connect, to love without royal obligation." She took Dash's hand. "I won't abandon either world. Earth will be the base for our resistance, and I'll work to forge an alliance between our planets. Kronos threatened both our homes, we'll defend them together. 3 months later, the University Observatory had been transformed into an interplanetary embassy. Elena, now publicly Princess Elara, to a small group of cleared officials, split her time between diplomatic missions and teaching. In her private quarters, Dash waited as she returned from a Resistance Council meeting. Her royal attire, with its subtle armor and flowing lines, suited her as much as the professor's clothes she still wore to classes. "How was the council?" he asked as she removed her ceremonial circlet. "Stubborn. Traditional." She smiled. "Coming around to my way of thinking." Dash laughed. "They don't stand a chance against you." Elena crossed to him, her natural luminescence casting a soft glow as she took his hands. "I've been thinking about what you asked me, that day of the battle. About our future?" She nodded. Royal marriages on Astoria are complex affairs, usually arranged for political advantage. She traced his jawline with glowing fingertips. "But we're creating new traditions now." From a hidden pocket, she produced a small crystal that pulsed in time with her heart. "On my world, this is how we propose." The crystal records the unique energy signature of our connection. Dash took the crystal, watching as it glowed brighter in his palm. "Is this a royal proposal, Your Highness?" "No," Elena replied, leaning in to kiss him. "This is just Elara, asking the man she loves to join 2 worlds with her." As they embraced, the crystal captured their combined energy signature, unique in all the universe, a bridge between stars. Outside the window, Earth's night sky and Astoria's distant sun shared the same vast cosmos, no longer separated in her heart.